All my people that believe that the earth is flat, I'm tired of y'all. I can't stand y'all. You know damn well that the earth is spherical.
Why haven't I been making flat earth videos? Well, that's why, what he just said. But allow me to elaborate.
Go nuts on my nuts.
Hi, it's me, Creaky. Now I'm sure a lot of you are missing the flat earth videos, and as I've said many times on my live streams, I just need a break from the flat earth idiots. Because that's what they are, complete idiots. Case in point, and the subject of today's video, Eric Dubay. So let's listen to him repeat everything that every flat earth idiot has ever said about why they pretend to believe that the earth isn't a globe. Tidy!
Since the Earth is claimed to be a sphere 24,900 miles in equatorial circumference, it is a simple matter of curvature calculation to determine how much a spherical Earth of given proportion must curve downward each mile. Long-distance photography and infrared video showing objects hundreds of miles away where they should be obscured by many miles of curving Earth are instead plainly visible affront a flat horizon that rises to the eye level of the observer. This is just one of hundreds of proofs that Earth is most certainly not a sphere.
Is it though? Or is it just a simple case of you and every other flat earther refusing to accept the reality that surrounds us? And I know what flat earthers will say.
Have you seen the globe, Creaky?
And the answer is, of course, no, I haven't. I've never been high enough to see the earth in its entirety. But have you been high enough to see that it's flat? No, of course you haven't. So I'll ask you this. Where are your photographs of the flat earth from space? Oh yeah, that's right. Most of you morons think that space is fake as well. The one place you need to go to capture images and prove once and for all that you're right isn't real. How very convenient.
Another proof that the Earth is not spherical like your afro is fluid physics. All standing bodies of water are level, meaning they do not deviate in elevation across their surface at any point. This is why it is known as sea level, not sea curve. Why water is physically used in spirit levels to determine true level.
Okay, spirit levels are incompletely filled with liquid, usually a coloured spirit or alcohol, leaving a bubble in the tube. They've got a slight upward curve so that the bubble naturally rests in the centre at the highest point. At slight inclinations, the bubble travels away from the marked centre position. Oh yeah, and a level wouldn't work properly without gravity, so there's that as well. Now, sea level is a base level for measuring the elevation and depth on Earth. Because the ocean is a continuous body of water, its surface tends to seek the same level throughout the world. However, winds, currents, river discharges and variations in gravity and temperature prevent the sea surface from being truly level. What? The sea isn't level? What a shocker! And sea level is measured in relation to the adjacent land. Just like the ocean, the elevation of land may rise and fall over time. For example, the tremendous weight of a glacier on land pushes the land down closer to sea level. That same land bounces back, a process called post-glacial rebound, I think it is, if the ice retreats or melts and its weight is removed. Local sea level measurements are a combination of sea level variations and movement of the land. Contrary to what flat earthers claim to believe, level and flat are two completely different terms, and it's important to understand the differences when it comes to your ridiculous childish claims about the shape of the earth. Flat and level are not the same thing, morons. And to show you in a way that matches your childlike thinking, this is a truck on a completely flat road, but the road isn't level. The house in the background is level, but the road is flat.
We can physically test and demonstrate for ourselves the intrinsic properties of water and know them empirically through hands-on experimentation. As for the supposed curved bodies of water upon the globe, or the augmented virtual reality water balls on NASA's International Fake Station, these you and I cannot physically test or demonstrate ourselves, nor know them empirically through hands-on experimentation, because the globe claims require a reference frame that only a few hundred people in history, nearly all of whom are or were Freemasons, have ever been privy to, so-called outer space.
Ah, so-called outer space, not just space. Why is it that people like Eric Douchebag are so against the idea of space? Well, it's pretty obvious really. It's because from space, anybody with a pair of eyes can see that the Earth is a globe, which doesn't really lend itself well to the idea of a flat Earth. Because when you're up there, you can see it's a globe, and you can also see that it isn't flat. And do flat earthers actually know what a Freemason is and where the term came from? Well, Freemasonry evolved from the guilds of stonemasons and cathedral builders of the Middle Ages. And with the decline in cathedral building, some lodges began to accept honorary members to bolster their decline in memberships. So they were stonemasons then, and not a group of secret NASA operatives put out into the world to hide the true shape of the Earth.
You, Ludacris, myself, and everyone listening to this has never been to an altitude where we can see any curvature whatsoever, let alone see whether or not Earth is a gigantic water ball with bendy oceans and upside-down people in Australia.
Nobody's been high enough to see if it's flat either, but that doesn't seem to stop you and your cohorts from claiming to believe that, so I really don't see your point. And people in Australia are not upside down, you petulant clown. If you could move your mind out of the second grade for 5 minutes and pay attention, you would realise that in the context of Earth, down simply means towards the centre of mass. But to be fair, I can see why you won't accept that either, because accepting that shows again that the Earth is not flat.
Likewise, we have never been aboard the International Fake Station, so all supposed science experiments done from this reference frame, only attainable by government actronauts, are outside of what we can actually, empirically know for ourselves.
So if you haven't been there, it's not real. Well, we've never heard that before, have we? Your inability to accept scientific fact puts the burden of proof on you, so prove the Earth is flat. And that doesn't mean continuing to poo-poo actual science with your own ridiculous brand of pseudoscience, because that only serves to prove how much of an empty-headed, irrelevant, short-sighted fool you are. And we don't need any further proof of that, we can see it in all your videos.
Ludacris makes the typical Glober comment that, all of you who believe the Earth is flat, you know damn well it's spherical. The undeniable truth, however, is the exact opposite. To all of you who believe the Earth is spherical, you know damn well it's flat. You believe the Earth is spherical because you have been shown images like these.
Images have got nothing at all to do with people knowing that the Earth is a globe. The reason we know it's a globe is because there are literally thousands of different ways of demonstrating it. The fact that dim-witted flat earthers refuse to accept any of them, again, just puts the ball in your court. Prove us wrong.
And images like these. And images like these. Which are admittedly composites or computer-generated images.
CGI. Because that's what it stands for. You do realise that a composite image is composed of other images, don't you, Eric? And in case you don't understand, in this instance, I use the word image instead of photograph. I really don't want to be accused of trying to confuse you.
You believe that standing bodies of water can stick to and curve around objects, also because of things you have been told by authority figures or shown on television.
No. We don't need to believe. We can see it. The only difference is that we accept it and you don't. You know, like for example, when you're standing on a beach and the boat that you're watching somehow disappears from the bottom up. That's empirical proof that the Earth is a globe. No magic, no camera tricks, no need to zoom in or out. The boat is disappearing because the Earth isn't flat.
From your own experience, you know that every body of standing water is and must be level. From your own experience, you know that the Earth is a level, motionless plane, and the only curvature you ever experience comes in the form of hills, mountains, and valleys.
You're so smart. That's not curvature, you puerile excuse for a man. That's elevation. An object's height above or below a fixed reference point. And in this case of mountains and valleys, that would be the sea level.
Everyone who is intellectually honest accepts this zetetic empirical reality and realizes that belief is required for the tilting, wobbling, spinning spaceball Earth, but not for the level, motionless plane Earth, each and every one of us experiences our entire lives.
Speak for yourself. I don't experience that at all, nor does anyone who isn't a flat earth simpleton. And belief has got nothing at all to do with the shape of the earth, unless of course you believe that the earth is flat, because not only does that take belief, it also takes blind faith in the inane ramblings of morons like you.
But let's just say, for instance, I was to entertain the bullshit. So let me get this straight. Y'all saying when you see a ship sail off into the distance and then you see it slowly disappear, that the ship just falls off somewhere?
No flat earthers whatsoever claim that ships disappearing in the distance is due to them, quote, falling off somewhere. So that is your own fallacious little red herring. 5 minutes of research and you could find the actual following answer. The fact of the matter is that the law of perspective on plane surfaces dictates and necessitates this occurrence. For example, a girl wearing a dress walking away towards the horizon will appear to sink into the earth the farther away she walks. Her feet will disappear from view first, and the distance between the ground and the bottom of her dress will gradually diminish until after about half a mile, it seems like her dress is touching the ground as she walks on invisible legs. The same happens with cars speeding away. The axles gradually get lower, and the wheels vanish until it appears as if the car is gliding along its body. Such is the case on plane surfaces. The lowest parts of objects receding from a given point of observation necessarily disappear before the highest.
Do you want to tell him? Or shall I? All that happens because the Earth is a globe. You have just explained an object being obscured from the bottom up because the Earth is curved.
Now, with modern telescopes and cameras, we can prove this as well by successfully zooming in on ships that have gone beyond the horizon and bringing them completely back into full view, hull and all.
Oh, dear, dear. All that demonstrates is that the boat hasn't gone far enough over the horizon. The reason you can zoom it back in is because the zoom lens on your camera can see further than you can. Has any flat earther ever zoomed in on a boat as it's disappearing over the horizon, waited until that boat has disappeared again, and then tried to explain where it went? Let me know down in the comment section, because I've never seen it.
And since the beginning of the time, once certain people and objects get to the edge, they all just fall off. If that's the case, then where the hell do they go, huh?
Yet again, Ludacris makes the same red herring, claiming there is some kind of edge of our realm that one could fall off from. Again, no genuine flat earthers have ever claimed there to be an edge. This is just more nonsense from globers stuck in their outer space cosmology, who imagine that the term flat earth must mean some circular disc floating in space.
But wait just a second, so now the Earth is infinite. If that was true, along with the Earth being flat, then why does the flat Earth need an ice wall to contain all the water on the planet? The way you were describing it, Mr. Douche, makes it sound like you not only believe that the Earth is flat, but that it goes on forever. And I thought people believing in flat Earth was really stupid.
To begin with, flat earthers don't claim to know how the Earth terminates, because we haven't been there. And thanks to the Antarctic Treaty, signed by the most powerful 50-plus countries in the world, we are not allowed to independently explore the southernmost parts of Earth.
But you can book a cruise to Antarctica with literally any travel agency in the world. There are a few places on Earth where there has never been a war, where the environment is fully protected, and where scientific research has priority. The whole of the Antarctic continent is like that. And the countries that signed the Antarctic Treaty consider Antarctica to be a natural reserve devoted to peace and science. It has absolutely nothing to do with anyone hiding anything about the shape of the Earth, you asinine little turd.
If you want to discuss things falling off a ridiculous model of Earth, however, let's talk about yours, which claims a force called gravity is so strong that it can supposedly bend entire oceans and keep buildings, people, and everything else stuck to the underside of a spinning ball, while also being simultaneously weak enough to allow birds, bugs, and helium balloons to completely escape its grasp.
Now, to be fair, I did say at the start of this video that all he was going to say was the things that we've heard all flat earthers say 100 times before. I wonder why the sea stays put and birds and bugs somehow escape gravity's grasp? Is it maybe because birds are tiny, the oceans of the world are huge, birds have wings designed specifically to achieve flight, and the sea doesn't? Shall I go on, or do you think I've made my point?
And speaking of space, all the flat earthers, do you believe that the moon and all the other planets in the solar system are flat too? Or you think we're the only ones in the universe?
And here we have the appeal to the sky fallacy. Imagine inviting a contractor over to your house to measure the dimensions of your floor, and he immediately gets out his tape measure and starts measuring all the recessed lights in the ceiling.
It would make that contractor as stupid as you. I really don't see the relevance.
The truth is, the only place we see spheres in the sky is NASA's CGI. When amateur astronomers photograph and record the stars and planets, here is what we see. Is this a sphere? Are these spheres? Are these spheres? And even if they were spheres, what on earth does that have to do with the shape of the Earth?
No, they're not perfect spheres, but they're spherical nonetheless, and it has a lot to do with the shape of the Earth, you donkey. Because if by some weird chance the Earth did actually turn out to be flat, it would raise the question, why just Earth? Why isn't Mars flat, or any of the other planets we can observe?
Because obviously the Earth casts a shadow on the moon, and when we look up at the moon in its different phases, you do understand that the moon is round, and if it were flat, we wouldn't be looking at a spherical object in the different phases, just like my afro.
And for his last point, Ludacris again repeats the myth told in his elementary school textbook that the moon's phases are caused by the sun. The reality is, however, that the moon's phases are provably a property of the moon itself, and not merely reflected sunlight. The sun's light is golden, warm, drying, preservative, and antiseptic, while the moon's light is silver, cool, damp, putrefying, and septic. Plant and animal substances exposed to sunlight quickly dry, shrink, coagulate, and lose the tendency to decompose and putrefy. Grapes and other fruits become solid, partially candied, and preserved like raisins, dates, and prunes. Animal flesh coagulates, loses its volatile gaseous constituents, becomes firm, dry, and slow to decay. When exposed to moonlight, however, plant and animal substances tend to show symptoms of putrefaction and decay.
I've heard some really stupid things in my time on YouTube, but you, Mr. Douche, you really take the biscuit. So when an animal dies out in the desert, for example, when the sun is out, it coagulates, so it changes from a liquid to a solid form, and then when the sun goes away and the moon comes out, it starts to putrefy, which means it decays, rots, and produces a foul smell. Do you even understand how stupid that sounds? Because if that was true, the body of a dead animal would be eternally caught up in some weird state of rotting and then not rotting, and the planet would be littered with the corpses of dead animals.
In direct sunlight, a thermometer will read higher than another thermometer placed in the shade, but in full direct moonlight, a thermometer will read lower than another placed in the shade.
Ah, I almost forgot about this, Gem. Yeah, that's because things that are shaded from the sun by objects like trees or buildings are cooler because of those objects causing them to be shaded. And those same objects help retain the heat for longer once the sun has gone down because of the restricted airflow and radiative cooling, making morons like you come to the idiotic conclusion that the moon gives off its own cool light. Ask me again why I'm not making flat earth videos at the moment. Take care everybody, I'm the Creaky Blinder, and I will see you in the next video. Well, that went well. I didn't realise I knew so many different ways to call somebody stupid.
Alright, watch this next. But before you do, make sure you subscribe. By order of the Creaky Blinder.